Hey all, boardgamerants here where you'll find everything solo tabletop gaming and more. And today we're going to take a look at Cloudage from a solo perspective. I'm going to take you through the game, what it's about. I'm actually going to go through the first round for you, and then we'll see what I'm thinking on the other side. So Cloudage is a game about, it has a story to it. Basically, this mysterious cloud society burnt the world to a crisp. Very hard to come by water anymore. Very desolate. They control the cities. We're going to be flying around in this little blimp and landing in cities and doing battle. That's mainly how you're going to get water. So you're going to battle and then get some water. And so your blimp, you are going to upgrade it, because this side over here upgrades how fast you can move across the map. This right here upgrades how well you can do battle. Battle's pretty darn simple, but pretty clever. And then on this side too, there's this missing spot here where this has to do with further in the game, because you can play scenarios like I'm doing here, or you can play the campaign, which is, I believe, 7 chapters. And over the course of even the scenarios, there's 3 scenarios or 7 chapters you can play. Then you find out what this part of upgrading your ship means, which has to do with trying to reestablish, to grow things out here in the land and create a world that's got moisture again. So what's the game about? Well, you're going to be playing in rounds. And the rounds are going to be, when you're playing solo, you're going to be playing 7 to 8 rounds, and usually 8 rounds. But when you're playing the very first scenario, you only play 7 rounds. And each round, you're going to just follow this little bar of actions. It's very straightforward. And then you'll score at the end of the game. It'll tell you, this is how you score. And what you have here is of course, an upgradable ship. You'll have a tableau. It's a tableau building game. You've got a deck building game here too. This little deck consists of 0, 3 1s, 2 2s, and a 3. And you can upgrade this deck with cards, basically city cards. And that's one of the coolest mechanics about this game, is you're trying to find, there's 4 different types of resource. You've got energy, or whatever, solar energy, water, very important, metal, and then cards. These cards are project cards, and you start off with a hand of 5. And one of the main actions you can take is you basically pick a resource, and then you're going to grab this little bundle of cards here that are all sleeved into this thing. Basically, they're sleeved into something that looks like this, and it's double-sided, and it has these clouds that basically cover a part of the city, because every city is going to produce all 4 goods in different but very certain amounts. It's going to produce all 4 of the different resources, and in one of them it's going to produce 3, in another it's going to produce 2, and then the others it's going to just produce 1 of each. And that's the case in all. You just don't know what the distribution is going to be. And there's also going to be always an ability to get an extra action and upgrade your ship, or to be able to refine again, this is deck building. This is how you can kind of trash cards you don't like in your deck, because that little symbol right there that you can kind of hardly make out there at the bottom left of that card. So, and all these cards have this characteristic to them. And then the power of the card is this, which helps you basically battle. It also helps you move. It can determine how much energy you get to create, or how many cards you get to draw. So this number serves a lot of different functions. The higher, the better. And then this little symbol here is on some cards, and it's it's going to be 1 to 3. This is the little growth. You can draw growth tiles out of this bag if you're playing certain scenarios. And scenario 1 and chapter 1, you don't really get into that. That's sort of it's kind of cool, progression. When you play the story, or if you play the scenarios one at a time, as you go through it, you'll unlock stuff. But back to these cards, this is a pretty cool function of the whole game. These kind of get sleeved into these, and then you have to basically just do your best to kind of try and guess, you know, what's back there, and pick the best good that you think is going to suit whatever it is you need. And so the other action you can do aside from basically getting resources is you can pick this action, which allows you to upgrade your ship or play cards. And so very, very basic, this scenario 1. It's not a difficult game really either way, but ultimately over time you unlock more stuff and you're going to get more tiles that come out and do special things. You actually, there's a whole nother board that you'll add that comes, so it's all that stuff over there. You know, you can see right here, this is your extra goodies that you'll be unlocking. There's some more project cards in there, and there's some more tiles that you'll be adding to the game, and there's these extra upgrade tiles that you'll add to the right side of your ship and there's a whole stack, you know, the scenario and a whole stack of chapter cards there that run you through the whole game, and you can do it however you want. So to give you an idea, you know, when you're playing, just to give you an idea of the flow, you know, starting left to right, first you see if you have to do a book action. There's book actions here. Every round you're going to be removing a cube and putting it out on the board. And so you'll know if you have to do a book action or not, or if you have access to the book action. But right now we don't, because this cube is right there. So we don't do that, but we can produce. So that's another thing over here, I guess I haven't talked about. This board, which looks kind of complicated, but essentially whatever color you're playing, you just move it along as you increase your production. You move it along this track. And then depending on where you're at during your production phase, you can pay 1 power, 2 power, 3 power, 4, 5, 6 to get what's below it. Maybe 2 water, maybe 3 water. If you've upgraded your stuff here, you could, during the production phase, you can spend 3 power to get 2 victory points and 5 water. So that's another thing that you can upgrade as your production track. But in the very beginning of the game, we start off with a production ability of using 1 power to get 2 water. So we'll do that. And we start off with basically 2 of everything to start with. I don't know, 2 of everything. 2 water, 2 metal. And now I just did my production phase. So now we get to draw 2 cards. And this is pretty cool. You flip over the first 2 cards on your deck. And the lowest one is how much energy or new cards, new project cards you can draw. I got a 0 in this case. And the highest one is how many spaces you can move, base level spaces. So I can move 1 space, and I drew the 0. There's only 1 0 and I drew it. So I don't get any extra energy or cards. And then I can move 1 space. Now I can move 1 space, and then each ship, you can either use your solar panels to move an additional space, or if you don't use it, you get 2 energy. So I'll just move 1 space. This is where we start. Boom. And then I'm not going to use the extra movement. You have to always end on a cloud out here, basically, because that's part of a city. So I'll move there, and then I'll get 2 energy because I didn't use my extra movement. Then, so again, it says, so I drew 2 cards, and then with the lowest card, I got a 0, so I couldn't get any energy or draw any cards. And then I moved 1 space. And now I can do battle. So what I can do is I don't have any power up here. This is I haven't upgraded any of these strength to be able to do any kind of damage. And to take on the city, I have to do 1 damage to get 2 water. So what I can do is spend, and I will, an energy to draw a card. I already know I got my 0 out of the way, so I'm going to get at least 1 attack, and that's all I needed, 1 attack. That's what I got. So then I'm going to get 2 water for my efforts in battling the Cloud Society. And then I place a little, then it tells you, and I could keep drawing cards if I wanted to spend more power, or I can even sacrifice victory points to keep drawing cards to add to my power. But now I put a cube out right there, just somewhere on the city that I just fought. And now we move over to, and this is with solo, you have this little board here. And with solo, you basically move your way left or right, and you activate this. It allows me to get resources on 1 or 2 out here. So either this or here. So either this card or this card, I can get some resources. So maybe I pick, you don't want to pick the highest one because the solo rules, if you pick the one that's 3, you get nothing. So like this one looks like it might have a lot of metal, but maybe not a whole bunch of water, and maybe I'll be able to get rid of the 0 in my deck if I pick this for water. So let's do it. So I put that there, and we'll take this card out, and we'll see what we got. Sure we will. There we go. Got the card, bam. Ooh, that was a good pick because yes, I didn't get the max, so I'm gonna get 2 water. Put that over there. And then that little symbol allows me to get rid of, basically trash this really crappy card out of my deck. Awesome. Then this gets actually discarded. And now I take my actual action, which is to use my little drone and pick something. So let's see here. I could either go and do another round of that, and then this time if I do, I get to add that card to my deck. But let's go ahead and just do something different. Let's go over here and let's take 2 actions. 1 to upgrade our ship, 1 to play a card. Okay, upgrade our ship. Let's just spend these 2 metal to get 1 attack strength. Costs 2 metal there. Now, which card do we want to play? Costs water, and then you have to discard a card. So let's go ahead and spend 5 water and discard a card to play EMP plans. And so I think I'll discard this. This costs massive amounts of money. It would upgrade my production 2 times and give me 10 points, but that's a lot of water there. So we'll discard that. We'll spend 5 water, 2, 3, 4, 5 water. And we'll play this, and they're color coded too, so you can kind of see you play it in the blue or the green section of your board. And then you get its goodies. It says immediately build your next EMP cannon for 3 metal less. Well, that's right here. These are my EMP cannons. These are what help me battle out there. For 3 less, boom, this costs exactly 3. 3 minus, so 0 metal. I get to upgrade that. Now I have battle strength of 2. Excellent. And this will score me 2 points at the end of the game. All right, that does it. You take this off the board, and then guess what? You go round and round. Well, this time, so now I'd go back, and then now I get to do the book action, which allows me during the next book action to give each player 1 mission card. I'm the only player. I draw a mission card, and then flip this scenario card. So now at each book action, I can draw a card or get an energy. And then here's some end game scoring goals. Basically, this has to do with how much movement I've upgraded. If I upgrade 3, 4, or 5 movement capability by the end of the game, I'm going to get 7 victory points. If I have a cube on actually 2 of these 3 towns, I'm going to get 2 or 5 points. And yeah, so then I would continue with what we just did, and you play round after round until you get to final scoring. Let me tell you what I'm thinking about. Cloudage. Ultimately, I was pleasantly surprised. So going through here, the setup when you first take it out, you're gonna have to, you don't use these tiles and you don't use these cards but you do use these cards, and so you gotta sort of get everything kind of set out and to get it to that basic plain format that you start with, and then you just get right into the game. It's not that difficult to learn, and all of the iconography and just the way it's laid out is very easy to follow. It's super intuitive. It's one of my favorite things about this game is simply the pace. It plays just blazingly fast. It's like reading a good book. Where'd the time go? There's no, like so many other games, there's a round that you play, and there's, a number of phases where it's just all set up. And then there's like a phase or 2 where it's the real meat of the game. Like I've been recently playing, Anachrony with all its expansions. And so there's like one phase of the round where you spend most of your time in the game, and everything else is just kind of set up and, bookkeeping stuff. But here, like every phase is enjoyable. Every phase just has some decision stuff to do. and the pace that it moves. I mean, the game takes not very long. You know, you can play this basic game in a half hour. Well, I say that now because I played the game about 10 times. I played through the whole campaign. I played through well, I didn't play mission number 2. I played mission number 1 a couple times, and then mission number 3 after I played through the campaign, because that's where you have access to all the stuff and all the goodies. And yeah, I mean, games are well, closer to the hour, I would say, when you're playing the campaigns and you're further, you're into the deeper chapters. But the base game's very quick. Back to the setup and teardown, it takes 10, 15 minutes probably to kind of get up and running. Then I never took the game down. So between chapters, between games or between scenarios or whatever, just over 5 minutes really to just kind of get everything where it needs to go. And then you go again. And so as long as you're not putting it in the box and taking it out again, real quick to just kind of go to chain along through those chapters. And the table space, it's going to take up a good 2 by 3-ish, maybe not a full coffee table, but it's, you can kind of compress it. You can put things, especially when you're playing solo, where you want to, where, probably jam it into 2 by 2. So length of play again, yeah, half hour to an hour here. The components are great. For what I paid for this game, I feel like it was, very fairly averagely priced. The theme, the whole idea of this, the story part of it is not, in depth by any means, but it's very par for the course from what we've experienced with Maracaibo and Oh My Goods and the whole Longsdale and Revolt. Longsdale and Revolt is an expansion that makes Oh My Goods playable solo, and it has this little story to it. Just a little something to just kind of keep you, gives you an idea, a little visualization. It's not like a grand, piece of literature. It's just designed to kind of give you some flavor and some reference. So you can feel what you're doing out there a little bit better, which is cool. The rulebook I found to be kind of lacking. There was some references to things that I couldn't quite pick up on. And an idea like regions and stuff where I was like, it said some, and then you had to kind of assume, oh, this is what they meant by regions. Or I remember having kind of that difficult. I remember having to go and look up an FAQ a couple times on this, and you just wouldn't think you'd have to do that on a game this isn't a super heavy game. It's not a heavy game, especially the first, mission or a couple chapters. But once you get into it and you start finding those other things you can upgrade on your ship, and then there's a lot of great little decisions all over the place to be making all of the time. But it's not something that kind of catches your AP, your analysis paralysis. I didn't feel really any of that. It was just kind of like I said, the game moves at a splendid pace. But it's once you get into the deeper chapters, I think the weight of the game that you see on BGG, I think puts it at less than 3. I think once you get deeper into the chapters, you get into the 3+ range, not higher, much higher than just barely over 3, but it definitely gets a little bit more involved as you play through the chapters and you unlock some cool stuff that really make the game, But again, the rule book I just found oddly just weird little things. Like it was a couple of things. Like when I played the first missions, I couldn't score very well, and there's just some little things in there. Would have been nice if they made it a little more clear. Like I didn't know, because you're not using the growth part of the mechanic yet, you're supposed to substitute that for water, and I totally missed that, and so it was like, screwed up my game first couple games is because it's a big thing. You need water. So anyway, yeah, I felt like there was certain things that should have been made a little more clear there with the rule book. So, but mechanics, I think it was awesome. I think the way it was put together was excellent, because you got a little bit of all the good stuff, if you like. And the deck building too, there's not like a big deck building game, but just by the consequence of having such a few amount of cards, and you get to throw away just 1 or 2, and then you can use energy to cycle through that. it allows you to really get access to your stronger cards, even though it's a short game and a very, in your deck building is very minimal. But because you only got a few cards, relatively speaking, in that deck, it's not hard to shuffle. I thought it was interesting. It was like a little mini deck building adventure in there that was really cleverly done, I thought. So, but the tableau building, and then you could increase, upgrade this, and you could upgrade your production, you could upgrade all this stuff, and then there's a cool little chance element as you get into the growth, and you're drawing tiles out of that bag and see what you get, and just good, just a great combination of good mechanics. And again, nothing remarkable, but just well done. And a good strategy. I mean, when the cards that you draw too adds a whole nother element, because what you draw can give you sort of ongoing benefits, or benefits depending on how well you search cities, or it can give you one-time benefits. And so you've got lots of good decisions to make. So I think there's a healthy amount of strategy to be had here. And I've scored really well sometimes. Got through the campaign. I didn't get all the stars I needed, but I got a lot of stars. And I finished the campaign, and then I beat the game, the missions, a number of times. And so, and you got to play well, or you ain't going to do it. So, so yeah, good amount of strategy there. From a solo perspective, purely, I felt that this was just standard goodness. It really was. It was just like a tasty morsel. And the 10 games that I played, I really enjoyed. Do I feel like the game has staying power? For me, probably not so much. This will be likely a game that I just have a lot of games, and so, so this one will likely not stay in my collection, but there's good replayability there if you want, especially with the scenarios, and you can go through that campaign again. It's easy to reset too. It has kind of a legacy style to it, but it's all very resettable, very easily resettable. So that's cool. Just fun. It does have a little bit of difficulty level things you can adjust to by getting yourself some more mission cards, which you have to complete at the highest level, because there's like different levels on that mission card that you saw. Like you have to at least visit 2 cities to win the scenario. Anyway. So barely any difficulty adjustments, but the game's hard. If I had to give this, a ranking between 0 and 10, 7 being just a good game, but not going to stay in my collection, this would be 7.5, I would say. So this was just a good game. I enjoyed my time with it. I think it was very well done, but I think also too, I'm going to give it away or sell it or something and allow someone else to experience it, because it was great while it lasted, kind of thing. So those are my thoughts on Cloudage. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments below. And until next time, I'm boardgamerants, and I'm out.